first master planned community in the country. They took a large piece of land and started subdividing it into villages, and within each of those villages it's subdivided into tracts. It's a very organized system of small entry-level condos, small entry-level homes, up to estate properties. One of the other unique features is it was one of the first cities in South Orange County, and so that's starting in the 1970s. Irvine, because of its landmass, is still under construction today as we speak, and so in terms of variety of architectural styles, school offerings, amenities, you have a more complete variety in the city of Irvine than you will anywhere else. You have some areas when you start getting further south where the entire city was built over a 15-year period. And so the architecture is going to be very similar with little variation in those communities. Areas like Irvine and Mission Viejo in particular are cities that are older and definitely have more of a spread and more variety to choose from. Well, my first favorite neighborhood is always going to be Turtle Rock. It's where Vince started back in 1986, and it's been the basis of our business 30 plus years now. And so I just think in terms of what it's got to offer, there's a lot of character. It's really unique as being one of the few areas in the city of Irvine where you don't have any commercial property. It's just residential and schools and parks. It's a little quieter, it's up on the hill. You've got the views. It's just a little bit more of a mature neighborhood. It was built mostly in the 70s. So I definitely have an affinity for Turtle Rock. I also love Oak Creek for the exact opposite reason. It's much smaller, but it's walking distance to the shopping center. There's paths that go all the way through it. And so it's very centrally located in the city of Irvine. It's easy access to both the 5 and 405 freeways. So that's one of the ones that also holds my heart. I actually own a condo there, and I loved when I was living there. It's just a neat little quaint area. Woodbridge, which is basically right next to Oak Creek, is also a great community for the opposite reasons. It's just big. It's got so many parks, 2 lakes, the beach clubs, tennis courts, parks, everything that goes with it. It's a unique village, not just in Irvine, but in many areas in Central and South Orange County, because they designed it more as a neighborhood community where they wanted people to be out using the amenities, doing things like going to the parks and going to the pools. And so they have a lot to offer that you're not going to find in a lot of other communities. To this day, they're still winning awards for their planning. So Woodbridge has a lot to offer for that. One of my favorite quiet little neighborhoods that I don't get to talk about a lot is North Park. When North Park was first being developed, it was at a time where it was the first thing outside of the city of Irvine that was going to be part of the Tustin School District. So you really wanted to draw people in where they were going to want to be in Irvine, but were willing to sort of make that change. Irvine, as you know, is predominantly people coming here because of the schools, and so there was some concerns about what that was going to do, and the Irvine Company did a really great job with developing the community. It is beautiful. Full-size trees when they were first being built. I mean, it's just a magnificent community to drive through. And now, even though it's Tustin Unified School District, it's still all on Irvine property in terms of the schools that those kids are going to. So you're getting the benefit of an Irvine school, and now you're in this really beautiful community. Making some shifts, particularly things that are in the older communities. So the newer communities, of course, you're going to buy newer construction. And when I say newer, anything in the last 20 years for Irvine is newer. And so the looks are going to be regimented. Everything's going to have HOAs and rules and regulations. And so you're really not seeing a lot of variety. So when you go into a certain community, it's because you're looking for a specific school or a specific amenity or a specific style of house. Every 5 to 10 years, you can see architecture changing. And so the newer construction, of course, because there's so much that's being built, you can always sort of see that look. So if there's a specific look or feel you're going for, you can typically find a village that'll offer that. What you're seeing a lot of in the older communities is people coming in and taking down the older properties and then building something newer on it, because you have land. It's very difficult on new construction at a reasonable price to find a lot of land on your lot. And so you could buy something in an older neighborhood, particularly one with no HOA or no guidelines, architectural guidelines, and now you've got a bigger plot of land that you can go ahead and build your custom home. And in some areas, Turtle Rock, where we do a lot of work in particular, is one of those communities where, because it's so expensive and because the schools are so great, it's a high demand for people coming in, but they don't want to buy something that somebody else has done. They want to start with their own plan. They want to set their roots down, and so they want to build something. And so you're starting to see a lot of that in these older neighborhoods where people are coming in to an established community that's got a really nice foundation for their family, and then building their dream home on those lots. So primarily Irvine, you come here for your schools, because we have the best schools in the county, and because they're very family-oriented communities. I moved here in 1983 when I was a teenager. And as a teenager in Irvine, we had a lot of complaints about there's not a lot to do. That turns out to be a great thing because it's safe. That means that there's no trouble that your kids are going to be getting into. Not so great when you're 16, but definitely when you're in your 20s and older, you realize you love the communities, you love that you feel safe, you're not worried about your cars getting broken into and that type of thing. Don't have kids in the schools, a lot of times what I'll tell people is, what is it about the neighborhood that's attractive to you? Because you are paying a lot, and you don't have to send your kids to private school, you're going to pay a little bit more for the real estate. But I have a lot of people that will come to Irvine because they feel safe, because it's quiet, their kids are grown and gone, or they haven't started their families yet. And because you have things like the Irvine Company that have developed so many areas, you've got the Spectrum, you've got everything going on by the airport off Jamboree. There's a lot of activities and a lot of things to do, and we're seeing a migration from the larger cities coming down here. Again, people that are empty nesters and also young people starting up, because there's a safety in the area that they feel. And because we're doing a lot of these more culturally affected things like the restaurants and museums and art shows and all of that, you see a lot of people without kids still moving to the area.